grade, it's Miss Francis again, and welcome back to library. Today we're going to be talking about research. We're going to be starting research, and you're going to kind of think about how to search for things, whether it's in the card catalog or if you're looking online on our online encyclopedia. How do you search? How do you do research? And if you get a chance, you can download and you can print the worksheet and you can do it with me, because we're going to be doing it together, or you can try to do it yourself and then check it out when you are done. And we have a little fly that might be flying in front of us, so if you see that, that's okay. He wants to learn too. So first turn to page 18, where it's going to say general and specific subjects. So that is what we're going to be working with today. So you are going to read the research questions below. You're going to determine if the subjects are general or specific. You're going to circle the answer, then tell why you think the question is general or specific. So just to refresh your memory, what does general mean? General means it's very broad. So you have to think in big terms, like space. Space is very general. And then there's specific, which means it narrows it down. So specific is more like, I would say maybe Mars, which is much more specific than just space. So we're talking about general and then specific. So today we're going to be talking about wildlife and all sorts of interesting things today. So the first one says, what causes wildlife to be endangered or extinct? So looking at the term wildlife, do you think that is a general or a specific way of describing wildlife? What in your mind do you think? Is wildlife more general or is it more specific? If you said wildlife is more general, you would be correct, because wildlife is a general term and we have not narrowed it down to what animal we're talking about. So that's a lot of wildlife we're talking about. We don't know which one yet. So it is a very general term. The second question is endangered wildlife found all over the world? So we're talking about found all over the world here. Again, that is very general. All over the world is a large area to cover. We don't know where we're talking about. We don't know if we're talking about a particular region or a country or a continent. We don't know. So that again is much more general. The third question is a red-headed woodpecker an endangered species? So we're working with the red-headed woodpecker. Do you think that is a general term or a specific term? If you said specific, you would be correct, and I did not circle that on my sheet. But it is specific because we are talking about a particular species. So we're not even saying birds, we're narrowing it down even more than that. So we're talking very specific about a red-headed woodpecker. So go ahead and circle specific, unlike I did, on your sheet. And you can see that that is a much more specific term. And you can start to see there's a pattern here. You can see what more general means, and you can see what more specific means. Number 4, how do the rainforests affect our environment? So the question is about our environment, where we live. I'm just going to move it up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. And if you said specific, you are correct, because we're talking about our environment. And where do we live? We live in Nebraska. We can even be more specific. Our environment is actually Omaha, Nebraska. And how does the rainforest affect us? There are lots of things that affect the rainforest and how we act here in Omaha, Nebraska, and the products we get, and even, our weather can be affected by that too. So this is a much more specific term by pointing out that it's our environment, where we live, and we live in Omaha, Nebraska. Finally, the fifth question, what is a rainforest? Is that general or specific? If you don't get this, I will be shocked. Of course, it's general. We're talking about all the rainforests in the world. If we were getting more specific, we would narrow down where is that rainforest, what continent, what country, what city, what area. So again, this is a much more general term to describe, rainforests. So I hope that kind of helped you a little bit think about what is more general and what is more specific. Now, if you turn it to page 19, you're going to see a little funnel, and you're going to learn how to use that funnel. And it says, to get the best results from searching, you need to know how wide to make your funnel. So what is a funnel? Look at the example below. Meredith is writing a report on dolphins. So first she types in dolphins, which is a narrow or specific search. She finds that a few books, but she wants to look for more. So she types in marine animals, which is a more broad search or a general search. The results may have many more books that she might be able to use for her report. Also, another way to think about it is keyword and subject searches. So when you do a keyword search in the card catalog, it's going to bring you up more results. When you do a subject search, that narrows your results because you're talking about that particular subject. So you can also translate this into the card catalog system. So not only are you going to use it for research, but you can also use it for searching for books right here in the library. So right here, when she does a dolphin search, she noticed that she gets 3 book results, but when she does a marine animal search, she gets 24 results. So obviously, broad searches or subject search or keyword searches give you more. So broad searches and keyword searches give you more. And then when you narrow it down, that's also considered a subject search, so you get a lot less, just about that particular topic. So our very first question here on our funnel says, you need a picture of where the planets are in the solar system. I'm just going to move this up a little bit here. So what would be a broad search and what would be a narrow search? So I suggest you label your funnel narrow, because the narrow one, of course, is smaller, and the broad one, the funnel is, of course, bigger. So it's a good idea to mark those to remind yourself what is a narrow search and what is a broad search, so you can look back on that if you want to use this for research. So just go ahead and write narrow and broad at the top there. So if you need a picture of where the planets are in the solar system, so what would be considered a narrow search? Well, if you said solar system or planets, you are correct. And broad, you want to think big, so you would think space. So space is going to give you a lot more results than if you would search for solar system or planets. So that's how you can kind of think of it that way. Number 2, is a ladybug a harmful insect? So what would be your narrow search and what would be your broad search? If you said ladybug would be your narrow search, you were correct. If you said insects would be your broad search, you would be correct. Of course, ladybug is much more specific than insects. Insects include so many bugs and critters, where ladybugs is much more narrow, much more specific there. Number 3, where could you search to find information about baseball? So what would be your narrow search and what would be your broad search? Baseball, of course, would be your narrow search because you're specifically searching for that sport. Sports would be your broad search because it encompasses so many things. Finally, your last question. What you need to find out what to feed your pet guinea pig. And this one is a little harder. So let's see if you can get this one. What would be your narrow search? What would be your broad search? What you need to find out, you need to find out what to feed your pet guinea pig. Guinea pig would be your narrow search. But because guinea pigs are pets, that would be your broad search. So sometimes you kind of have to think outside of the box there and you think, a guinea pig, what is that? Well, it's not really a pig, but it is a pet. So you would probably want to do a broad search as a pet because guinea pigs are domesticated. So those are pets. So that, I hope, answers your question a little bit about what are broad searches, what are narrow searches. You can kind of think of it, what is a subject search, which is more narrow, compared to what a keyword search is, which is more broad. If you ever have any questions, you can always email me. And I hope you enjoy your worksheet, and I'll see you next week for library. Bye.